What's up, folks? How you doing out there? This your boy Lee Black, and I am about to do a movie review of the MJ biopic. So apologize for you guys for being gone for quite a bit, a long time, but I am in a new location. I'll still kind of get my bearings here in the Big D, so I'm no longer in the ATL, but let's get to it. Let's talk about the Michael Jackson movie, MJ, which was released for wide in the public on Friday, April 24th. I had the good fortune of seeing this on Friday. So I purposely waited until today to give my review because I wanted to really give myself enough time to process the movie itself, also have an opportunity to kind of look at what the reviews and to really kind of think through and get my thoughts together, because this is a film that the critics and the public have a major chasm. There's a major glitch in terms of what the critics say versus what the public has to say. So prior to its release, the critics actually gave this film a 24% on Rotten on score on Rotten, whatever it's called, Rotten Tomatoes. Excuse me, I apologize. So the critics gave it a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes, and once it was released, after more than 150 reviews, the critics actually gave it a little bit higher, but it still is currently sitting at about 38%. And basically what the critics are saying about this film is that, it's not serious. They're slamming it because they say that it's basically glossing over the Michael Jackson story, that it doesn't go into detail about its many controversies, the complexities that dealt with, his life, and that it portrayed him in too of a flattering sense. Now, they said the same thing about the biopic Freddie Mercury, Bohemian Rhapsody. And so if you remember, the critics, they're looking for, an all-comprehensive story that goes into much more detail. And we all know that when Michael Jackson was alive, he was widely, infamous for Wacko Jacko. The controversies dogged him literally up until his death, about child molestation, things of that nature. So from the critics' perspective, they felt like this movie didn't go into any of that, and that it basically showed him in the best possible light. What are the fans saying? Well, the fans are rating this as a 98%. 98%. The fans are saying that at 98%, they love it. So, which is true? Are the critics correct, or are the fans? I want to highlight one particular critic in particular, Sarah Michelle Fetters, on critique from Movie Freak. She said, and I quote, "The whole thing is a hagiographic nightmare that only works as well as it does because the music is so undeniably brilliant. But there's no there. None." So I literally had to look up the word hagiographic because I wanted to truly understand, this critic that used this big word to basically pen Michael Jackson's movie MJ. And hagiographic describes a biography or depiction that is excessively flattering, reverent, or idealizes its subject, often ignoring flaws to present them as perfect or saintly. Now I've got a new word to add to my vocabulary, hagiographic. I'll never forget it. Having said that, folks, is she right? Probably yes. I will say this about the film. If you are a Michael Jackson fan, you'll love this movie. Jafar Jackson does a brilliant job depicting Michael Jackson from the first moment he comes on screen and you hear his voice. You can almost close your eyes and he embodies Michael Jackson in his movements, his mannerisms. He's got the dance routines down, and they didn't just simply kind of use footage. They recreated scenes from Billie Jean, from Thriller. He did it. He did a brilliant job. Now, he admitted in many pre-interviews and leading up to the film that he is not an actor. So if you're looking for some great acting job, you're not going to get that. Jafar Jackson is not Jamie Foxx being Ray Charles. He's not Denzel Washington embodying Malcolm X. He's simply the nephew that is paying homage to his uncle, Michael Jackson. And guess what, folks? He did a brilliant job. The young actor who portrays Michael Jackson when he's little does a brilliant job. They give you a very, very interesting new dynamic on the Jackson 5, their beginning. And does it go into in terms of hagiographic? Absolutely. No doubt about that. This movie does not focus on any of the controversies. It kind of alludes to some of the things that we've come to know about Michael Jackson. Folks, you got to accept something. Had they gone into all of the intricacies that makes up who Michael Jackson was, folks, this movie could have been 8 hours easily. In case you don't know and you've been under a rock, Michael Joseph Jackson is probably the most famous person ever on earth outside of Jesus Christ. He is literally more famous than the Pope. There are countries where they don't speak English. They don't give a fuck about what's happening in America, and they know Michael Jackson songs. This man has been dead for decades, and he is still the highest earning celebrity alive. There is no living artist that's earning more money than Michael Joseph Jackson. MJ is quite literally the definition of fame. Now, with that comes with a lot of other things. His childhood was taken away from him. They allude to that in the movie, where I don't want to give too much away, but you kind of get the sense of what eventually led to him and his whole Neverland thing. You also get to see in this movie where that love for children comes from. They depict the accident from the concert when he got his hair burned, and you kind of get the idea of where the beginning is when he was on taking drugs or whatever you want to know about that, the propofol and things of that nature. They allude to it, but make no mistake, this was not a film about that. This was a celebration of MJ, his legacy, his music, and as hard as critics want to try, he cannot be erased. Keep in mind, folks, they have done as much as they can to try to erase Michael Jackson from the face of the planet. And what particularly bothers me about that is they don't show that same energy when it comes to Elvis Presley. Now, on one hand, you want to criticize MJ's movie because it glorifies his music, but then we gloss over Elvis Presley, all of the things that he was about. Racist, brought Lisa Marie over from Germany when she was 14, living in Graceland, but you want us to believe that there was no fucking going on? Folks, I got a bridge to sell you if you believe that. Elvis Presley was also a drug user, but nobody talks about that. But whenever you hear the name Michael Jackson, you immediately want to attach to it. I'm talking about the critics. They want to attach to it all of the negativity. And I'm so happy that the fans are seeing through that. If you are a Michael Jackson fan, go see this film, because it is going to take you on a musical journey where you're going to get some insight into what true pop fame looks like. We celebrate Beyonce, we celebrate Taylor Swift, and whatever artist you want to think of. There has never been an artist as popular and as famous as Michael Jackson. And you get to see this in this film long before there was social media, when fans had to literally show up, show out, buy tickets, and you get to see that in all its glory. For me, a 58-year-old man and a true Michael Jackson fan, I absolutely loved it, because guess what, folks? I had the pleasure of seeing Michael Jackson perform live. I was at the Victory Tour. I was in the audience. I saw that tour. I've seen Michael Jackson perform live. And since that time, as a 17-year-old, and I'm 58 years old, there has never been a concert that has topped what I saw at 17 years old. I don't care who it is. I've seen R. Kelly. I've seen Beyonce. I've seen Diana Ross. I've seen Luther Vandross. I've seen concerts. None of them. They all owe homage and should pay tribute to Michael Jackson. He did it at a level and higher than it's ever been done, and that peak will never be reached. And so if you are a fan of Michael Jackson and his music, go see this film. It does not just simply take you on a normal journey. You get to see a little bit of the inside story about what went into his childhood. The only negative that I have is the light in which they painted Joseph Jackson. I was very surprised to see that the Jackson brothers, Jermaine, Marlon, and I believe not Tito, Tito's dead, Jermaine, Marlon, and maybe Randy at the end, I forget. but they were executive producers, and I'm very surprised that they green-lighted how they portrayed their father. Basically, they made Joseph Jackson a demigod. Everything that went wrong in terms of what we have come to believe that Michael Jackson had problems with his nose, his complexion, his fear, his introverted state, even probably his drug use. In many ways, they alluded to that this was Joe Jackson's tyrannical ways. Look, we all know the story that Joe Jackson, how he raised his children. He was old school. He did traditional methods of whippings that those of us are over 40 years old that we experienced, where we know now in 2026, you can't whip a kid with a belt, things like that. Look, whatever you think about corporal punishment, I do not like the fact that Joe Jackson was portrayed as some villain, when in my mind, he is very much responsible for their success. And the brothers, and many times, had said that. And so to have this movie depict him in that way was a bit surprising. But Coleman Domingo did a brilliant job portraying Joseph Jackson. Nia Long, she didn't really add anything to the picture, but go see this film. I'll wrap it up by saying that if you love Michael Jackson, if you want to go on a musical journey about his music, if you want to be transported and see someone truly embody Michael Jackson other than Chris Brown, go see this film. I love that the critics are ignoring, that the fans are ignoring what the critics say, because we all know that fuck what somebody else has to say. Use your own good judgment and don't let the critics ruin this for you. Keep in mind, folks, these same critics tried to do the same thing when Black Panther came out. They did the same thing when Sinners came out. It's awfully auspicious that every time there is a Black film that is for us and wants to showcase what we're about in a positive light, it's always the critics that are right there, right on time, to try to tell you why you should not see this film. I truly hope Black people show up and show out the same way we did for Black Panther, the same way we did for Sinners, so that we can show Hollywood and the powers that be that Black entertainment, not only does it sell, it works on every level. And I truly believe that Michael Jackson has fans that go far beyond America, where we are still struggling with the bullshit between Black and white and what all that says. But whether you in India, Malaysia, whatever country, Michael Jackson, as this movie gets released worldwide, I have no doubt that it's going to do historic numbers. So I, for one, am going to go see it again. I'm Lee Black, and continue to tune in for my content, because I invite you to subscribe directly to my channel as fuck Facebook and all that it stands for. I'm your boy, Lee Black. Peace out.